And as I always say, I think it's a nice idea to have one really good chain versus buying a lot of like mediocre or cheap stuff. And this is a great way to get into it because it's very good quality, but also affordable. All right, hello, we're here at Studioszene Hamburg with Tegeler Audio and Julian. So, hello.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, thank you for having us.
As you guys know, if you're a fan of the podcast or if you watched my videos, you might have seen that I've been using one of the Tegeler analog products for quite a while. I've used more of them actually, but I own one of them for forever, and I will probably never get rid of it because I love it so much. It's the EQP stereo Pultec that they have. It's like similar to a Pultec based on that, and I love it. It's been living on my mix bus for quite a while. That was one of the reasons why we wanted to talk to the people here at Tegeler who give us these great tools. It's a company I really stand behind, and they got much more than this Pultec, and I wanted to talk about whatever is in this rack and whatever you want to show us. They got some really cool solutions for those of you in the box who still want to have analog sound. And as I always say, I think it's a nice idea to have one really good chain versus buying a lot of like mediocre or cheap stuff. And this is a great way to get into it because it's very good quality, but also affordable. That's at least how I think about it. So Julian, please take over and show us what's in those racks.
We basically have almost our complete portfolio here. So let's start maybe with the recallable devices.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's really
what
exciting.
I'm most interested in for sure. Yeah.
Robots, guys, you're about to see robots.
We have our tube reverb here.
Tube reverb sounds like what is that? Because most people will be like, how do tube and reverb go together?
Yeah, it's a digital analog hybrid. So the reverb algorithm is coded by our CEO. Then we have like vacuum tubes in the input and output stage and transformers in the output stage, which color the sound, which add harmonics, that give that little extra, so to say. So
Michael is coding that himself? He's doing it? He's awesome. I was personally in touch with him when I got mine, like my unit back in the day, and he was the support and the communication was so great, so I have to say that too. Like I really enjoyed that conversation with him and everything. So yeah, I'm surprised he's also coding. I didn't know. So
yeah, he started actually, like he grew up in East Berlin, and he started to get into electronic music, and that's how his so to say electronics journey started.
Great.
And then he started to create his first, I don't know if it was a compressor, but his first device, and then someone heard it and he was like, I need that, can you make something like that for me? And then the demand got bigger basically, and that's how the company started.
Great.
Very cool.
So yeah, he is a developer through and through, and
amazing.
Yeah.
I actually didn't, when we were walking by yesterday and the other days, I didn't notice the digital screen on there. That's very cool.
So it is a reverb, like a plugin, like a digital thing?
Yes, we also even have that now as a plugin version.
Oh,
so you can have it without the tube stages.
Great.
It sounds a bit different. The algorithm is the same, so they are basically comparable. And
but I actually like to add some grit to reverb oftentimes, and like being like that combination sounds interesting to me.
Yeah, very cool.
Can you saturate it before and after, or how does it work? Like where are those?
I mean, you can drive with the input.
Okay, and it's just got an overall character to it, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
you cannot drive the signal specifically in the output or before the algorithm.
Is it stereo?
Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool.
Great.
Very cool. And is that one controllable from the DAW?
Yes, it is. I can show you really quickly.
Looks fantastic.
Yeah, you can write automation with this, and
you can write automation with it.
So if I move the density knob,
amazing.
The density knob follows. It's basically like motor faders, so to say.
Your tube reverb is able to be controlled from the DAW. Are all of them able to be?
Those three are.
Okay.
That's the CRAM. That's basically our mix bus equalizer.
Awesome.
Like mix bus compressor and equalizer.
Awesome.
So that's what I wanted to say.
That's the one I'm most interested in.
Yeah, it's also basically I wouldn't say flagship, but the most popular device.
Yep.
For a reason, it's
because it's also a great starter if you're just starting out with analog. If you've been working in the box and you want to get your first analog gear because you think, oh, maybe I want to get more into mixing and get that sound right there. The CRAM gives you a VCA compressor that is quite transparent and flexible with passive EQ together in 2 height units. Yes, and you can exchange the order if you go into the EQ first or the compressor, or if you want to go into the compressor first and then the EQ.
And fully controllable, right?
Yeah, the RC, the Creme RC is fully controllable. There's also a fully stepped version where you have like 1 dB steps with the low and high boosts.
Yeah.
Very cool.
But is the stepped version also controllable?
No.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
That wouldn't work with the motors
Yeah,
because they have to have this wiggle room. Wiggle room.
But some mastering studios, for example, or some people just prefer the stepped switches, and others like the control.
Well, I mean, I like stepped, but if the plugin is going to sync it to where it needs to be automatically, then I don't need steps, right?
Yeah.
That's the best part.
Yeah.
And then what was our last model that is also...
That's the Schwerkraftmaschine. That's our...
Say that, Malcolm. Schwerkraftmaschine.
Yeah.
Schwerkraftmaschine.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically,
Pretty good.
Yeah,
the
you did pretty
gravity
good.
device, basically.
A what?
The gravity device.
Okay. What does that mean?
It's a Varitube compressor. So it's a tube compressor, and it has 11 different compression modes, from diode presser and some kind of multiband. It's not a multiband compressor, but it's reacting differently, and you can direct the multiband a bit with the tilt EQ here.
The sidechain.
Yeah, for the sidechain.
Oh,
And
that's interesting.
yeah, you can go from like a Varitube compressor, which is this, of course, vocal leveler, which is the opto compressor from here, which we also made into a 500 series because people were asking for a 500 series opto compressor.
So you can go from like a very mu tube to an opto, basically. It's like,
In here, yeah.
No, I mean with the
in here,
yeah, great. That's cool.
It's the way it's done is the sidechain is doubled, and the doubled sidechain is basically digitalized. And on this digital sidechain, the behavior is calculated, and then it's applied to the analog sidechain. So there's no conversion or something happening there. Everything stays analog, but the calculation is in the digital realm.
Yeah.
So
That's very interesting.
That's very interesting. Actually, something I wanted to ask about if there's any converter involved, but like doesn't seem like it. Cool.
Yeah. So I've got a question though. With the plug-in DAW control integration, is that software that's included with the purchase?
Yeah, definitely. You can get it on the product page for free.
Lifetime license?
Yeah, lifetime license. It's getting updates regularly. And if you have problems, like they're connected, maybe that's interesting because most people will think, maybe USB. But we decided against USB because you have signal loss above 5 meters in the bigger studios. You have multiple rooms with with longer ways.
Yeah.
So we went with Ethernet, like network cables. Any standard network cable, it doesn't works. It doesn't need to be even Cat5, even though you will get Cat5 cables mostly. Since it's with Ethernet, it needs a IP address. Which can be done easily, either directly with the PC or the Mac, or with a router.
Do you have instructions for how to do
We
that?
have instructions,
because
and if there
I
are
remember when I did
problems-
it for the first time, I had a few devices were like that, and now I know how to do it, and it's not a problem. But I remember the first time when I tried to do this, in my case, I think it was an SSL controller years ago that did it that way. I remember struggling a little bit, setting it all up and getting it to work and communicate through the router and but you have instructions for that.
We
Cool.
have instructions, and if you have problems, write us an email, give us a call, we'll make a team viewer session with you, and we will log onto your PC and do that shit.
Right.
See, that's what great support looks like.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Perfect.
Indeed. Yeah. And then once it's set up, is it pretty much like you're not going to be worried about it running every time you open the session? It's plug and play. That's great.
What do we have here? Like we have the tube compressor you said?
Yes, it's a classical dual mono Vari-Mu compressor with a little update that it's received with the newest batch. It's a color and this color comp switch. It's basically a bypass for the sidechain.
Okay.
So when you have it on color, you bypass the compressor, but the signal still goes through the tubes, so you can still use it to liven up, for saturation.
That's cool. That's what I do with my distressor all the time, like where you just do the 1-to-1 ratio and just run things through it without compressing. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, a friend of mine, he's doing mostly like harder guitar music, metal, some, I don't know, crusts and this kind of stuff. And he mostly uses it in color mode. And,
And I was always very interested in that one, the Magnetismus. This is a very special piece of gear that I haven't seen anywhere else.
It is very special because you have a VCA compressor here on the left side. And then you can drive the flux stage or the flux mode. And what the flux mode does, it's basically a transient shaper But by its transient shaping, it introduces tape-like saturation. That's why these the flux modes are named the way they are.
Nickel,
it's called
iron.
nickel, eisen, and cobalt.
Which is nickel, iron, and cobalt.
Yeah.
probably
And
figured.
named up
Managed to decode that one.
from the tape domain inspired. And so there are no actual tapes in there. There are no there are transformers, but not three different Eisen transformers.
Yeah. But it's the sound of those.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
cool.
this is super nice for drums, for example. If you have drums from a drum computer and you want them to be not as digital or what you might
shapes
say.
up the transients a little bit, makes it rounder. Yeah.
Or also like a synthesizer line, acid bass line.
Yeah.
Send it through, please do it. You will love it.
Yeah, I've heard A/B. I've never used it, but I've heard A/B tests, and it sounded really impressive. Like it's what I wanted. The way I would describe it is, it sounds like I would want tape simulations to sound. Like there's some certain tape simulations that I use for certain reasons as plugins, and I wish they would sound like what I heard in those demos. Like
That's nice.
it's the same thing but better in a way. Yeah, so that's why I always was very interested in this thing.
The only thing is you have to get used to it a bit. It's not like you get it
there's a learning
and
curve.
you put it in your chain, you crank it up and it will sound perfect. You have to...
You can easily mess things up.
Exactly. You can really destroy drums if you want it. It can also be used for sound design in a way.
Right, like dramatic, extreme effects. That's kind of my favorite stuff. That's
Fucking things up.
Yeah, that's the most enjoyable. What about distribution? Like, so I'm from Canada. Benny's in Germany, so of course it's made in Germany.
Yeah.
It's easy to get. Is it available overseas?
Yeah, we have a partner in Canada, for example. Actually, in most of the world, you can contact them. You can contact us. We have our dealers mentioned on our dealer list.
Yeah.
On our website, but we also sell directly. So if you don't have a local dealer in your country, write us an email.
Yeah, very, very impressive. Like, can we talk about that real quick, like the box?
Yeah.
Because I mean, what's inside there is also beautiful. But I think something I should mention is those pieces come in boxes like that, or like these down there.
Yeah,
actually.
the newer ones are. This is the box for the 500 series. It would have some foam in there to protect the gear, of course. Now it's with a few of our cleaning cloths.
We were talking about it earlier, where I said I have a few pieces of gear that need some service at some point, and I haven't sent them in, like not Tegeler pieces, others, and I haven't sent them in yet, just because it's like I feel bad sending expensive gear around. It sometimes gets damaged or whatever, and there's no, like, even if you have to keep the original boxes, sometimes depending on how good they are, and sometimes you get rid of the individual boxes because they just keep piling up, you know. Yeah. But if you get a piece of gear in something like this, you will probably keep it. You can even use it for other things in the meantime, and then when you need service, you can put it in there, send it over, and it's nice and protected, you know. It's
Exactly.
So this is really, really cool.
We get relatively few transport damages. Of course, these things happen because if you transport electronics, occasionally they are getting handled roughly and then something happens. But it's luckily very seldomly, and if it does, mostly it's something on the wooden box, which like keeps the danger away from the actual devices.
Yeah, smart.
So
smart. No wonder that more people don't do that.
Yeah, it works out pretty well.
Anything else you want to tell us, or like tell our audience, basically? I mean, keep in mind our audience are musicians who record themselves primarily, so it's not like, some of them are pro mixers and have great studios, but most of them are like DIY musicians. Many of them probably have never heard, or most of them probably have never heard analog gear, or are maybe thinking of getting into analog gear. So what would you say is a great place to start, or what would you tell that kind of audience who's on the fence of like trying it?
First thing, I would say, if you want to try something, if you're curious, for example, about our stuff, if you want to test if the analog workflow is for you, we offer a 14-day demo in Germany and Europe. So just contact us, register for a demo, and we will send you a device without payment in most cases. And then you can test it for 14 days. The only thing you would need to cover is the return shipment if you don't want to keep it. That's basically it.
That's, by the way, how I got mine and kept it eventually. Like, they sent me one, I could try it in my studio, in my environment, with my monitors, so I could really form a decision, like, and really and form an opinion, and really get to a good decision. And then, of course, I kept it. Yeah, so.
I mean, I can talk about our gear and we can talk about this stuff and how great it sounds or whatever. But you have to test it in your workflow. You have to test it in your setup, on the speakers, in the acoustics, to really make a decision if it creates the sound you want.
It also shows that you really believe in your own products, because you giving it to the people, it'd be like, listen for yourself, and then.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's most of the time we don't get it back. And
Yeah.
also because I know this is for most people that are just getting started with music and don't do it as their first job or like as their main job. This is not the most, this is not the cheapest gear.
Yeah, of course.
If you compare it with other gear, it is relatively affordable, but I am totally on the side there.
Yeah,
so maybe
totally
the 500 series would be something
Yeah,
there,
that's actually a great point.
because
Yeah, 500
they're
series is a really good way.
priced, of course, lower a bit. For example, this is a prototype of a new 500 series VCA compressor, which is kind of inspired a bit by the VCA in the Creme.
Would this be a mono sort of channel compressor, SSL style, let's say, or VCA style, or would it be a bus compressor stereo thing?
It's a mono module, but it can be linked
To be
yeah,
okay, so
to
you
the
can do
stereo.
both actually.
Yeah,
You can start with a mono unit, and you can also turn it into a bus compressor.
Exactly.
Oh, cool.
And I know our developers are working on a preamp at the moment, so soon with the vocal leveler and with the Myth EQ you can basically work with a complete chain if you want.
So the vocal leveler is a compressor?
Yeah, the vocal leveler is an opto compressor, actually the opto compressor from the VTRC, because people demanded that we have this as a standalone unit. And yeah, the Myth EQ is a 4-band EQ. Yeah, active EQ instead of passive EQ.
Okay. Different design.
Yeah, different design.
Like what you would find on a console, basically, or like just a utility EQ, basically,
exactly,
to just shape
the
your sound going in, basically, and commit. Yeah, which is great. Yeah, awesome.
And yeah, with that and with all the other, all the gear from other manufacturers that are also doing great stuff.
So if I would, for example, if I have this like I have, and I would add one of these, if I track something, I could go like a little more surgical there and take out something I don't like, whatever, and then I could add some sweetening over here and do like broad touches. So
Exactly.
that would be a good combination. Cool.
Yeah, that's basically the idea.
Yeah, awesome, great.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks to you.
Thank you, Julian. Yeah, awesome.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, guys, if you have any follow-up questions, I'm sure if you send it to us, if you comment or whatever, I'm sure we can forward them maybe or whatever. Or as you said, you're human beings. You can talk to those guys directly.
We've proved
hit them up. Yeah.
We also have Instagram and all the socials.
perfect.
So write us a message or write them, and we get in contact. Depends.
Definitely.
Awesome. Thank you so much for doing it.
See ya.
Yeah.
Thank you.